So, back to the childhood trauma series, part whatever. As soon as I hit record, I lost exactly what I was going to say. It was like right there, and now it's gone. Uh, Maybe I'll just switch over to like the sensitivity that I had. So, upon graduating high school, I ended up not doing anything for a year because my mom was unsupportive. She was not helping me get a job or anything. We didn't do that thing that they show you in TV where, the parents encourage them and like, hey, what college do you want to go to? I was never asked these fucking questions. I had convinced myself that I never wanted to actually stay in a dorm because of the risks of having a roommate and all of that shit. And I already had family touching my stuff without my permission and taking stuff away from me, even essential things. I didn't really need a stranger doing it too. And so I had convinced myself that I never wanted to go to college in the first place. So I decided maybe the easiest thing would be because I needed somebody to take me to the college anyway for me to start living in the dorms. And I knew my mom wasn't going to do it. I knew. Because if she didn't help me decide on what college I wanted to go to in the first place, then what makes me think that she would actually take me to fucking college? And on top of that, there was the whole affording it thing. I didn't understand how any of that worked. And so I ended up deciding maybe I'll just get into the military or whatever. Because, the recruiters, I talk to the recruiters all the time. They seemed cool, whatever. I knew that they were lying. I just pretended that I believed all the bullshit that came out of their mouth. And I decided that I wanted to join the Army. And my mom said, no, I'm not going to let you join the Army. You can join the Air Force or you can join nothing. She would not allow me to join the fucking Army. And I was over 18. So she ended up taking me to the freaking recruiting office at some point right after high school for the Air Force. But they wouldn't take me because I was only 106 pounds. And my aunt was even like, that's kind of crazy because I didn't weigh nothing when I went in and, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, the whole thing didn't work out because there was no way. I was stuck again. Because the Army would have taken me no matter what. I actually took the ASVAB and I scored high enough to get into the Air Force. Not high enough to get into what was it? The Coast Guard, I think, requires the highest scores. Whichever one requires the highest scores, I was a couple points shy of that. Mind you, I didn't know anything on that test regarding mechanics, but I logicked my way through those questions and that's how I got them right. And so I scored high enough to get into everything except for whatever requires the highest scores. I was just a few points shy of that. And so the funny thing is I still ended up getting calls from whichever one requires the highest scores, even though I didn't quite make it that high. But I was being forced to go into the Air Force, so I wasn't really able to take those calls. And so, yeah, it didn't work out. Now I'm sitting here doing nothing for another fucking year. And I convinced everybody that knew me, oh yeah, I'm just taking a year off. That shamed thing that they put in TVs and everything of people taking a year off. Hold on. So yeah, I ended up not doing anything for a year or two almost until my mom forced me to go to her college. And during that time, I had fallen out with friends because I had a boyfriend at the time that, before I had graduated, and he broke up with me before the end, and I was relieved, but I had to pretend to cry so that, I didn't seem like a bitch because everybody thought I was a bitch to the point where I wasn't approachable and all of that shit. And I got tired of that narrative. So I acted like I was the most vulnerable person in the fucking world all the time, to the point where I believed it myself. I believed that I had no power and that I was just this meek little quiet thing that didn't know nothing and couldn't do anything for herself. And because it's the only way I could fucking survive, that's all I had. Like, and other than that, I was a straight up bitch because people couldn't understand what I was trying to say. And maybe I said it with no emotion or whatever, but I was always seen as like robotic and bitchy. And so, yeah, I went to a couple of graduation parties, but I could only go if they picked me up. Um, and, that was nice. But after school, we all fell out because, I'm not even allowed to leave the house without doing shit first. And so that led to me, my whole life, taking care of every person. There is not a time of my life where I wasn't taking care of somebody. I was taking care of whoever I was in a relationship with, be it a friendship, a family relationship, or whatever the case was. I took care of every single fucking person but myself. And when I finally started taking care of myself, like giving myself a little bit more time, barely anything, but still giving myself a little bit more time, trying to love on myself more, it would trigger people to the point where then I would have to stop because they were getting in the way of me doing so. And I realized that I actually developed a complex to where if I'm doing something new, I have to force the other person to get into it so that I can continue to do it without being criticized or being made to stop. So, like, when I was in, like, school, middle school, I got my mom into anime after she tried to take everything away from me. So, like, I went from hiding it to getting her into it so that I could keep it. Because if I got her invested in it, then I didn't have to worry about it being something that I lost, because then it would be her loss too. And I did this shit with everything. I tried to get every person that I was involved with, whenever I tried to do something new, I tried to get them to do it too. So if I took up some kind of like skating or whatever I was doing, I tried to like incorporate them into it so that they wouldn't try to take it away from me. And that's a really fucked up way to be, because you're allowed to have fucking different interests than other people. But the thing is it's only when I have an interest that someone wants to take it away from me if they're not interested in it too. And so, yeah, I ended up taking care of just about everybody my whole fucking life. And if I ever gave myself care, it triggered the other person into thinking that I didn't care about them. Like, just simple little fucking things. And so it's fucking overwhelming. My whole life, I have been taking care of literally every other person. I was so tired. It was like a cloud of toxic sludge over my fucking eyes my whole fucking life. And when I finally really started to get into caring for myself, it was after ending the toxic relationship that I had before I ended up moving back with my fucking family. And I started to give myself some care. I started to like look better, feel better. My face cleared up. And then I was vibing high. Everything was fine except for the fact that, I was dying on the inside. And then that fell out because as the higher I started to vibe, the more people started to get triggered, and then I stopped taking care of myself again. And then I got back into with my family. I did it again. And then I had a full-blown fucking argument with my mom because I was putting on moisturizer and my child wasn't crying for more than 30 fucking seconds. But she's like, oh, you can't just let her cry. And I was like, I'm trying to calm down because I'm already fucking frustrated because y'all are triggering the fuck out of me. And she's like, well, if you just let her cry like that, that's not going to hold up in court. And she did that on purpose to trigger me because I had been threatened multiple times by my child's father that he was going to take them away from me since before they were out of my belly. And she did it on purpose to trigger me. And then my aunt kept telling me to calm down. And I was like, why the fuck would she say that? So I went off. I was like, it's 30 fucking seconds for me to breathe so I didn't go in there with that type of energy.